Namaste, good evening. Welcome to the eighth and probably the final session of Utkal Hacks 3.0. I'm Srinandan Das and I'll be with you throughout the session. What a great couple of weeks we have had. Some engaging, exciting, and mind-numbing sessions. And the eighth session promises to be nothing different. So to grace our evening, we have Scott Spence with us. Scott is a web developer for creative products at Karmarama. He's an open source contributor who has a whooping 1,486-day GitHub streak. Now, Scott is here to teach us how to build a blog using Gatsby and MDX. So let's tune in and learn the art from the master himself. Scott, over to you.
Hello. So thank you very much for having me here. And yeah, like what Sri said, is I'll be going through building a Gatsby MDX blog from scratch. So if we just go over to the slides now, and I'll just do my sort of introduction, which has been sort of done already, then I can start getting on with the rest of the talk. Can I share my screen? Hey, okay, brilliant. Cool, thanks, Sri. Okay, so like I said, my name is Scott. I've been a professional web developer since 2018, so not long really. Prior to that, I was an analyst developer for around 10 years. I used to work for large financial organizations like Fidelity, Barclays, and Deloitte, and similar places like that. I'm married, got a wife and a daughter, and I live in Kent here in the UK. I'm a cat dad. That is Boris, Leo, and Darcy. And like Sri said, I work for Karmarama. So Karmarama is an ad agency here in the UK, and I'm part of the creative products team. And we've got two very large-scale Gatsby projects in production at the moment, none of which I can talk about because of non-disclosure agreements. Yeah, so anyway, moving on, I'm here to talk about Gatsby and MDX. So just want to go over this progressive disclosure of complexity. So in this workshop, I'm just going to be going through from the very basic hello world component right up to having code blocks, images, and MDX components in a blog. So I'll start out pretty simple, and then I'll sort of start ramping it up. I'll try and talk through it as much as I can as I go through it, but we'll have to see what I can fit into the hour. Okay, so check out Jason Lengstorff's post on progressive closure of complexity there. So, right, the agenda. What is Markdown? What is MDX? Why Gatsby? And build. I'll start building stuff. So a bonus, if I get to it, I haven't in my dry runs, but if we get to it, we can look at incorporating GraphCMX into the Gatsby project and use the rich text from GraphCMS in Gatsby project with Markdown. But we'll see how this goes. That's the bonus round. So what is Markdown? If you're not familiar with Markdown, it's a way for simple editing of plain text files that get converted to HTML. So fun fact, this presentation is made in Markdown and JSX, but more on that later. So Markdown's been around since, 2004. And this is the original announcement of the specification from John Gruber. You can read up more on this on Daring Fireball. Just search Daring Fireball Markdown, and you'll find the spec there. It's a good read, and I think there's a playground in there as well where you can play about with it. Okay, so I also did a talk on Markdown, which has got an interactive guide on it, which you can check it out at the short link there, ss10.dev/MDSDS for Markdown Showdown. And that gives you a really good idea of how to use Markdown. Okay, so this would be your your Markdown file. So this is H1 here, denoted with the hash. You can go all the way up to H6, and this is a paragraph, and that renders out to this. Like I said, this is written in Markdown, so it renders the Markdown for us. Okay, next up, MDX. What is MDX? MDX is the sort of next step with Markdown. MDX is Markdown and JSX, and I believe, excuse me, I believe MDX stands for Markdown and JSX. So JSX being the HTML elements you make in React. It's not saying that MDX is only for React. You can use it in Vue and Svelte as well. I don't know what the package is called, but I mainly focus on React. And this allows you to add interactive components to your documentation. So Markdown, there's a Markdown conference started in September last year, I believe. And you can check out the link there for this year's conference. That's pretty cool. Okay, why Gatsby? So Gatsby is by far the most feature-rich and best supported framework at the moment for Markdown. MDX, and Gatsby's just very good in general for like Jamstack architecture. And if you want to have a very fast site. So Gatsby is a static site generator. That means there's no dynamic generation of the pages at sort of runtime. The built output for Gatsby can be added to a CDN and be globally available anywhere. It can be very secure. And Gatsby uses Markdown files with the Gatsby source file system to get local files. It can get remote files as well, and transform that into HTML. The end result is super fast site with very little latency. Okay, build. So how are we doing for time? I've not started the timer. Let's start the timer. So 7 minutes. Okay. Right. So if you want to follow along, there is, excuse me, sorry. A couple of things you'd need, like a basic web development setup, Node, Terminal, Bash, ZSH or Fish, a text editor, and a basic understanding of React. Sorry. Okay, so like I said earlier, I am just going to be copy pasting code and then explaining it as I go along, just because of the sheer sort of time constraints we've got here. But the slides will be available, and the slides do have descriptions and everything that needs to be done. But I thought it'd be best just to rattle through it with everyone while we're on the stream. So what I'll do is try and keep an eye on the chat. So if you want to say anything, just let me know, and we could sort of change stuff up as we go along if needed. But for now, I'm just going to be adding stuff to the terminal here. So I've got this split because I'm going to be adding stuff to the other pane here. Let's just get this back down now. Let's move this over here. Open the window. Right, so you'll notice we're just pasting stuff in here. So the first thing I want to do is create a Gatsby project. I'm going to call it my Gatsby blog. I'm going to change directory to that. I'm going to initialize it with yarn. You can use npm if you like. And then I'm going to use Git as well. So Git, I'm going to be using that just for visual purposes, so we can see the differences where things have been changed, and it gives me a good prompt for what to talk about. So let's get that done. And then I'm also going to need a git ignore. Let's just open this for now. Let's change over to here as well. My Gatsby blog. Okay, so here's the project. We'll leave it off to the side here like this for now. And we've got our package.json initialized here. And I need to put in a git ignore file. So let's just put this in here. So that is going to ignore the cache, node modules, public, which is where it's built to, dear stuff user Mac, and then yarn error log. And let's move on. Okay, so Gatsby uses source.pages as like the sort of magic route for where all the pages go. So with this command here, I'm just creating Markdown, making a folder, and the P flag is to make a parent folder as well. So source pages. Then I'm going to create the source pages index.js file, and I'm also going to install Gatsby, React, and React DOM. So while that is doing its thing, let's just do the first React component, which is going to be, let's close this panel for a sec. What's going on? Wrong key, that's what's going on. Right, there we go. Right, so import React from React, hello world. Wait for yarn to do its thing. And while I'm waiting for that, let's just get this command down here. So I'm just going to run the Gatsby develop command straight from the binary. So I can do that with yarn Gatsby develop. If you're using npm, I think you use like $npm bin. Something like that. It doesn't look like my shell likes it though. So I'm just going to do yarn Gatsby develop here and wait for that to spin up. So while that is doing that, I'm going to put in some scripts into the package JSON here for npm to use. So just here, I'm going to add a build script so we can build the completed project. Gatsby develop, which is what I just run here. For this P flag here, this is the port you want to run it on. And I'll be using port 8945, and this O flag here, this just opens it in a browser tab. So let's just save that. Go to the browser, and then we go to localhost 8000 because I'm using the default port at the moment. So click on that, we get oh, hello world. Hello world in Gatsby done. Right, so I'm going to be committing this here. So git add dot git commit init project, and that's that done for that part. Right. So next up, I want to have local files in MDX files. So I'm going to create those with another command. Again, I'm just making a directory for content. You don't have to do it like this. You can just have one directory with all of your files in it. I like to give my files like a structure, so when you've got hundreds and hundreds of files, it's easier to reason about. So this is just creating the folder structure for that, and I'm creating 3 index.mdx files. So the slug for this will be third post, second post, sorry, 2021, second post, 2021, third post, and the index is left off of the slug. Okay, so now I've got bigger, pop out the side panel, the content here, the files for the content, should I say. I'm going to need to put some stuff in them. So first post, hello world. Next one, second post, and a third post. Wow, so easy to get that order mixed up. Right. So with that in place, let's just commit this in here. Righty-ho. So now I've got my content locally. I'm going to want Gatsby to source that data for me. So I'm going to need to start using some Gatsby plugins. So Gatsby's got a lot of great source plugins for sourcing your data from anywhere. I'm going to be using the Gatsby source file system because we're getting it locally. So to do that, I'm going to need a Gatsby.config file. Let's get this in here. It's in here. And I'm also going to want to install some more dependencies. So Gatsby plugin MDX and the supporting packages for MDX, which is MDX, MDX React, and the Gatsby source file system for getting the files locally. Okay, so while that's doing its thing, let's put our Gatsby config in place. And let's commit that. And then we will go to check out the project, see where we're at. So still hello world. Let's go to the graphical explorer now. And I'm going to need to kick off the dev server again. So what I'm waiting for here is all MDX and the MDX queries to be available. Shouldn't take long here. And I'm pretty sure that I just run the same commands. It's going to be on localhost 8000. So excuse me. Right, so if I hit refresh here now, this makes it a bit bigger. You see I have all MDX. And then I should be able to query all MDX nodes. What am I looking for? Front matter, date, title. Let's close this, run that, and then get this JSON data object back, which I can use in React. So let's add a bit more configuration to Gatsby config here. This is site metadata. This comes in handy when you want to have a lot of repeated information throughout the blog or the site, the project, and it's good for use in SEO, which I didn't touch on with Gatsby. It's quite good for SEO because it just renders everything to HTML. So I'm going to use this in, let's just query it first of all. I'll just say site metadata, title and description. And the Gatsby dev server is quite forgiving at times, but not at other times. So there will be times when I'm sort of stopping and starting this a lot. So just bear with me when it happens. Okay, so there is a really good component in Gatsby, a React hook called use static query, and that means you can, like the name says, make a static query. So this here is the GraphQL query I put into the Graphical Explorer, and I can query this information here. So if I hit save here and go over to the site, wherever that is, localhost 8000, and then pop open the console here, you'll see there's a warning for 404. There's no 404 page. I'll add that in soon. And here we go. We've got the, sorry, let's just go back to this. I'm sort of querying the site metadata here. And this has been returned from use static query and given us that in the site metadata, which is what's being destructured here. Okay, so if you want to use this in a lot of places, and you usually do, then it makes sense to sort of abstract this away into its own function. So I'm going to do that next by making a use site metadata hook. So let's just get that into the terminal. And what I'm going to do is just cancel this for now. I'm going to yarn dev, and that's going to pop it open on the right port for us. Let's just get rid of this. Let's create this hook. Here I'm just making a folder in the source directory for hooks, and then I'm making a use site metadata file here. And then in there, it's going to be pretty much the same as what was in the index page here. That's it. There we go. I should have kept that one open actually. Let's close that one. That one. Don't get confused over what port I'm on. Close that. Right. Where was I? Hook, use site metadata. So yeah, like I said, this is the same query, and then this use site metadata is just called throughout the application, and it gives us what is being wrapped in site metadata here. Let's save this. You also notice I've given it a name here. It's just for when there are a lot of queries throughout the project. Helps Gatsby identify what is what. So if we go back to the index page now, I can use the site metadata hook and structure the title description out of it, and then use that. Use that for the static query. So we go. Okay, cool. So that looks nice, but it looks a bit ugly. So what I'm going to do next is, once I've committed this, so I'm going to add this, add site metadata and metadata hook with Git. I'm going to start styling this with theme UI. So the reasoning behind theme UI and not Tailwind or style components or something like that is that this has got a really some very handy utilities in it for switching a theme, and just thought that it'd be good to do here because themes are important. Dark mode is very important. Right, okay, so here I'm going to use create a folder for the Gatsby plugin theme UI, and make an index for that, and then configure the theme. I'm also installing some presets here because they're already pre-built and they're really handy to have. So in the Gatsby config file, config, I need to add in a theme UI plugin, which I routinely forget to do. And you'll see here that the dev server's prompted me to restart. And as long as that's finished, yeah, I'll do that. But I'm probably going to have to do it again, actually, because I need to define the theme in theme UI. So let's just get that going as well. So the theme UI theme object, I'm bringing in deep here and Swiss. These are the presets. They are being spread into the theme UI theme object for the colors and for the styles as well. At the time of making this, I've had to put in these additional styles here for the P tags because they don't seem to be present in Gatsby MDX. So these just added in for added style. Okay, let's save that. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to restart the dev server again. So let's just kill this. Yarn dev, close that, and commit the changes. The time check as well. Okay, so you see the theme's a bit different now. I'm not sure. Okay, let's just commit this. Okay, so now we've got an okay looking theme, I guess, but there's not much else in there. We need to get the local files into this project, which I'm going to do very shortly. But first up, I'm going to do make a header component and make a layout component. So with Gatsby, you don't have a predefined layout, and you can have different layouts for different pages, let's say, and you can mix and match what you want. For the purposes of this demonstration, it's just going to be one layout. Right, Let's get the header made. So theme UI components, I'm using box, heading, link. This might look weird, link as Gatsby link. I'll come on to that in a sec. So let's just make this a bit bigger. With theme UI, the box is like the any component. If you can use the as prop here, so I've just put it as a header. I've got a box as a div. I've got the SX prop here is where you bring in the theme UI styles. I've just put it in as basic styling from like the Gatsby default starter, just so we've got like a nice starting point. Link as Gatsby link. So Gatsby link has been notoriously hard to style in the past. So this theme UI link here is being used for the styles, and then for the functionality of Gatsby link, that's being used here. And then this is repping the site title and site description from the layout, which I didn't go over. Because I've not made it yet. When I say made it, pasted it from what I've got off screen. Right. Same sort of thing with the layout component here. Bringing in the site metadata hook for tile and description, passing that into the header component. And then I've got some basic styling for the app, just margin auto, just so it's nicely aligned in the middle. And then this part here, the main wrapper, is wrapping the children of the layout component. So that means anything the layout component encapsulates in React gets returned along with the rest of the components in here. So let's just demonstrate that in the index. So let's go to the index file here. And let's go back to the project actually. Hasn't changed much. Let's bring this over here. And paste it in. So the layout, and it encapsulates this H1 here. If I hit save, we should have the header and unhandled runtime error. Brilliant. Okay. So maybe stop and start a dev server again, Scott. Let's try that. Oh, sorry, I wasn't going to read the error message. I'm pretty sure it's something from me probably not stopping and starting a dev server. Okay, half an hour through. We're getting there. I don't think it should take much longer. So let's close that. I'm going to have to read the error message. Theme error element type is invalid, expected a string. Ooh. How can I not copy and paste it correctly from something that was working? Right, let's take a look. Who thinks saved? Ah, the header. I didn't save it. Schoolboy error. Right, here we go. So, and this should be centered that way. Yep, there we go. Right. Side panel. Okay, so let's take a look at the information I got in GraphQL available to me. So I want to get all of the MDX. It's a bit bigger. All of the all MDX data and return slug, an excerpt, which is just like a short description of the post. It's like the first 100 characters or 250 as it is here. And then the title and date from the front matter. So that gives me this. So I want that in a query on my page here. So I'm going to do that in the index page again, but I'm going to use a bigger. That same query I had in the Graphical Explorer, which is named site index query. This data here at runtime and build time, Gatsby takes this query queries that data, and then we'll pass this back to the component, the page component here as data. And then I'm mapping over all MDX nodes to get the ID, the excerpts, the front meta, and the slug. And then using some more theme UI components here just to scaffold out some links. So if I hit save there, keep on getting this error. Wrong screen. Everything's saved. Okay. Stop the start of dev server. Attempted import header is not exported from header. Is not exported from header. Imported as header. Right, what's going on here? Oh, you donut. So that, my bad, should be in the index page. Right, so keep the header. So sorry, folks, and let's go to the next page. Okie dokie. Right, so now I've got it in the right file. Let's take a look at this. Right, here we go. So this is the link to each one of these posts, and I'm not sure if you can see it in the bottom left-hand corner here. When we hover over it, it's got the slug, so the date, month and day. So this is 2021-03-06, which corresponds to 2021-03-06, which is this hello world. But if we click on it, we don't get any pages because I've not built them yet. So I'll be doing that now with the Gatsby file system root API. So let's just go and commit this here. So added header and layout components. Okay, so one handy little tip is if you're using Gatsby and you're trying to work out why you can't see a certain page, you do 404.js. That is basically this internal Gatsby 404 page, and it will list all your local pages for you. And as you can see, there's none here at the moment. So I'm going to create a file for the Gatsby file system root API, and it's got this special notation around it. It's curly braces and .js, and I'll go into the name once I've actually got the code in there. Let's do that now. Let's find the page. Here it is. Let's just put it in here. So this is a post page, and we're getting the data again from a different query this time. This takes in a variable for the slug, and then that is what the file system root API does. It just passes this slug in here via what is on determined in the file name. So we've got MDX and slug. Save that, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to need to kick off the dev server again. Just try to refresh this. Yep, so let's get the dev server going again. This is fun. Watching the dev server spin up. Right, here we go. Right, so we're back here again. If we look at our 404 page and hit refresh, you see I've got the posts here. Hello world, third post, and the second post. Cool. But if I go access one of them from here, they are not wrapped in the layout component. So what I could do is wrap them all. Where can I wrap them? Wrap them all in the layout, but the MDX is not rendered at the same place as that, so I'm going to need to do it with like the Gatsby browser API. So, and in the Gatsby browser API, I need to use the wrap page element, And for that, it's recommended if you're using wrap page element that you use it in both Gatsby browser and Gatsby SSR. So I'm just going to create a third file. So it's called a root wrapper. It could be anything, could be called anything, but it's going to wrap all of the page elements at quite a high level and render out the stuff we need in there. Okay, so let's commit what we've got at the moment. How are we doing for time? 25 minutes. Okay, right, so I'm going to want to create a Gatsby browser.js, Gatsby SSR.js, and the root wrapper file, which is just going to be imported into Gatsby browser and Gatsby SSR. So to wrap all the individual pages here, you want to go as high up in the render tree as possible, and Gatsby browser and Gatsby SSR are pretty high up there. So that's why I'm doing this in here. So the root wrapper, I'm bringing in the layout because I want everything to look the same, and wrapping every component after it with the layout here. Right, so in Gatsby browser and Gatsby SSR, it'll be the same thing. So I'm importing the root wrapper here into both these files, and this is definitely going to need a restart of the dev server. Let's kick this off again. I'm just going to get a drink. Get this going, get that committed. Okay, so you'll notice we've got a bit of a double render going on now, because on the index page, I've got the layout, and then the layout is wrapping everything as well. Just check this third post quickly. It's got the same layout now as with the rest of them. But I need to get rid of this. So let's just take this out of the index page. Here's this. And this. Let's save that. Let's go back here. And that's gone away. Okay. Let's get that committed. So I promise I'm doing it for a reason. It's just so we can see where things have changed. Okay, so let's make that 404 page. So I'm just going to create 404.js in the source pages directory, and just getting an export for that in here, 404. And now I should be able to navigate to 404. So anytime anyone hits root, which doesn't exist, we're going to get this page. Brilsies. Okay, let's just add that in. See that? Okay, dark mode. Let's do that. So this is the reason why I've been making git commits all the time. So in the header, wherever the header is, here it is, I'm going to add some of the theme UI functions for use color mode here, and then this just lets me toggle between what was defined in Gatsby plugin theme UI here. So I can toggle between default and dark, and I'm just using a button, just using a bit of state to set color mode, which is down here. So let's hit save, and let's go check it out. Light mode. Okay. Dark mode. Right. So that doesn't look nice. Let's just got that bit in here actually. Let's just do that. Where's that gone? I'm just going to use Flex here as well from Theme UI, and I just wrap everything so we get that button over to the right. Cool. Okay, so that's that. Add a theme toggle to the header. Let's commit that. Okay, What do we want next? Code blocks. Okay, so let's paste it in there. So I'm creating a components file for plugin theme UI, and I'm adding this theme UI Prism package here. So while that is off installing, let's just go to the third post here. This has got not the best syntax highlighting, so that theme UI.prism package is going to help us style that a bit better. So in components here, it's going to import Prism, and then any code component we get is going to be for Prism, and then for pre we'll just return it with the children. And this is definitely a restart of the dev server. So let's go back to where we were. It's in light mode. I've restarted it, but I haven't actually updated the theme. My bad. So yeah, for we need to have in the Night Owl theme. I mean, you can pick whatever theme you want out yourself from the presets. I like Night Owl. Let's just hope that's going to update. Oh dear, I'm going to have to kick off the dev server again. Maybe see if I just refresh. Yay! Right. Nice. So we've got nice code blocks, nice syntax highlighting, and that is looking pretty good. So let's just get this committed and move on. So just gone through the sort of basics of the Gatsby blog, really. I haven't really touched on MDX other than what is in the posts. So what I said earlier, where you can use your own components inside MDX, just going to do that now. So I'm going to create, it's just a visually impressive component. And I mean, you might want to incorporate it into your own stuff, but it's just a little bit of fun, which I'm going to go through here. So I'm using Emotion React for animations, and then I'm just creating a file as a component, which I'm going to use then in the Markdown. So let's go to that rainbow text component here, paste this in. Okay, so using just the keyframes here, this is for animation from Emotion React, and this rainbow animation is just to cycle the colors, and I'm returning a span with the P styles in it, and then this SX format in here is just on hover. We're going to do this nice cycling through these colors with the keyframes animation up here, and that's going to return anything that's it's been wrapped by. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we've got that. I can now import that component into any one of the MDX files. So I'm just going to put it into this one here. And I know this looks shocking. Look at that. So for the files here, I have to come out of the, where am I? Out of this folder here. 1, 2 levels there, and then I have to go in another 2 levels here to the file. So that can get a bit hairy, but I'm going to come onto that in just a second. First of all, let's actually use this component. Let's just put this here and say rainbow text and end rainbow text. There we go. Right, let's put in some prose. And that rendered quickly. So here's our new component. And when we hover, we get our nice animation going on here. Okay, so that's cool. But if you want to use it like in just one file, then this is a good way to go. But if you're going to be using it in a lot of files, then this can get a bit cumbersome. And then this is where the sort of root wrapper really shines with this sort of approach here, where you have it at a really high level. You can use the Gatsby MDX provider, and then you can put components into that provider. So then they are then available to anything which it's wrapping, and it's because it's high up in the sort of render tree. Don't know why I'm doing this. That means that you can make that component available anywhere. So let's just go and start using the MDX provider in here. So using the MDX provider, I'm bringing in the rainbow text component, and I'm just adding it to an object here called MDX components, and then I'm passing those components into the MDX provider, which then wraps every page element. So hitting save here, I don't think this is going to do anything, because I think I'm going to have to restart the dev server, maybe save that file. Let's take a look. Yeah, so I'm going to need to kick off the dev server again. And let's close some of these windows. Okay. So while that is doing that, let's commit it. And see if it's finished. Good drink. And let's check out the third post. And here it is again. So then you don't have to, with this approach, you don't have to manage importing components into individual MDX files. You can just use it in one location. All right, cool. So did I commit that? Yes, I did. Right. Last up, images. So let's say we want to add in some nice images to our blog here. I'm going to need to use Gatsby Remark Images and Gatsby plugin Sharp. Let's get them installed here, and then let's configure Gatsby config, and let's just talk about what's going on in there. Okay. So you'll notice that Gatsby plugin MDX now has its own plugins here. So that's for Gatsby Remark Images, and we're pointing the what are we pointing here? Gatsby source file system to the content for the images. It looks like the same thing twice there. I'm just going to leave it at that. So now we should be able to use images in our Markdown, but I haven't got an image handy. Let's just get an image. Right, let's put it in here. And I'm going to put the image. Let's get this MDX logo. What happened there? Drag and drop it. There we go. MDX logo. So I'm going to want to put that in to the Markdown. Let's do it like this. Let's post. Let's just put it right at the top here. So this is how you do images in Markdown. So it's bang, the alt image for it, and then in braces you can then sort of put the path to the file because it's relative. It's just /2 mdx.logo ping. So hitting save there. So I was going to restart the dev server. Let's do that. And let's go back to the home page here and go back to the first post. And I'm probably going to need to restart the dev server because I changed the Gatsby config. So my bad. Anytime you change the Gatsby config file, you're going to need to restart the dev server. Let's just close that, wait for the other one to pop up. And I think that is it for this. There's other bits we can add to it. SEO, always an important one. And there's Graph CMS, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do either of them in 10 minutes, just looking at the time now. So maybe we can do Q&A and then wrap up. So let's just look back to our first post here, and then we've got our Markdown image, and you can see the alt text on it there as well. So that's it. No comments in the chat. Anyone for Q&A?
Thank you, Scott, for the really engaging session. I hope everyone has enjoyed it. Now, before we move to Q&A, I've got a couple of questions myself. Now, since you are a developer advocate to Graph CMS, we have been hearing a lot about these roles like developer evangelist and developer advocate. Could you talk a little bit about more about this role in particular, like what you do in general, and how is it different from the standard software developer that we hear?
It's you're there for the community, so you're helping developers win. So I've not actually started with Graph CMS yet. I start with Graph CMS at the end of April. So the last week of April is when I start with Graph CMS. So I can't actually tell you anything about the role yet because I've not actually started. But from what I understand is that I'm customer zero for the product, and I'm there to enable other developers, so they can get unblocked, they can win at what they're doing, with what I'm skilled at with Gatsby, but anything else as well, just to help unblock people and be there for things which can be resolved via someone who is helping someone out on the front line, really. That's how I feel it should be. So there's that, and then obviously there's also providing content, like what I'm doing now, documentation. If there's any sort of any issues with any of the documentation we got, then I'm sort of the first port of call for that, and sort of feed that back to the relevant team to get that sorted as well. But as I've not started yet, that's just they're my preconceptions. But that's pretty much how I understand the role to be.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, so we have got a question, and it is by Satish Jaina. So the question is, Satish is asking if you could briefly explain how does Gatsby work behind the scenes.
Satish, could you be what specifically is it you wanted to know? Because I don't think I could tell you much more than what I've gone through myself. I don't have that deep an understanding of the mechanics of it. I just know that it will render out your files for you in HTML, CSS at the end of it. So it's like a flat file structure you can put on a CDN and access it. I don't have a very good understanding of the sort of inner workings of it, unfortunately. So it's a definite gap in my knowledge. But if you want to be a bit more specific about the question, like any specific areas, I might be able to help you with that. But as far as what I've detailed, where if you have like a page in Gatsby, you can write your GraphQL query on there. You can't use like dynamic queries, like a query which will take a parameter in anything but a page query. So when I went back, let's go back to that page with the query in it, which is like this one here. So this gets the parameter passed into the parameter, the variable passed into it at build time, and then each one of these are dynamically built, but with stuff like the where is it? Hook. The use site metadata. This doesn't change, so that's available at like runtime, let's say. But you can't really have dynamic queries outside of a page, like a page in Gatsby. That's pretty much my understanding. So at build time, it will take out that data and then pass that back to the page or the component for use. depending on if it's dynamic or static. So if it's dynamic, then it'll be in a Gatsby page, like what we did with the file system root API here. You won't be able to use dynamic queries outside of anything which isn't a page in Gatsby. So there's no runtime sort of queries you can run, unfortunately, which is a big limitation. But it's what what makes Gatsby so fast is that everything is pre-built. Akash, my thoughts on Next.js versus Gatsby. They are both stealing each other's lunch, aren't they? I'm not sure what the term is where you are, but they the file system root API is something which Next.js came out with first of all, and now Gatsby have it, and Gatsby image was first up for that, but now Next.js have got Next.js image, so it's tit for tat, we say here in the UK. They other than that, I mean, Next.js has got the added flexibility of being able to have dynamic pages in it, which Gatsby it does, but it's very much sort of runtime, and there's no server-side stuff you can do in Gatsby. You have to do it all via APIs and like source plugins at build time. So there's not a great deal of dynamic stuff you can do in that regard. Oh, it's such a sore throat. Anything else?
Thanks, Scott. So I don't see any more questions.
No.
So we have got a Discord group where we have a lot of participants present over there. They
Okay.
will be really happy to connect with you and ask queries. Like we can take this offline and they can connect with you. So Saurav or Ayaz could share the Discord link with you. And if you could
Okay.
join, it would be a really good moral booster for the participants.
I'll do just that. Yeah, brilliant. So if you put it in the private chat and I can pick it up, or in Slack, then I'll join and hang out for a bit.
Oh, okay. All right. So Saurav or Ayaz, if you could share the invite link to Scott, yeah, he can join over there. All right. So Scott, thank you so much for the really engaging session. We will have this on YouTube as well. So thank you for your time. Thank you for responding to the questions, and really wonderful having you here.